Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jeopardy. Oh, no, it's not. It is me. Hello, I am your host, Anthony Davis. Welcome to Footprints. And I'm an educator at BHS. That's Beverly High School, for those folks who don't know. And joining me today on the podcast, on today's show, part two, is Barb Fecteau, who is our resident librarian at BHS. And Barb has something that she did that some folks probably don't know, but now you will. She was on the game show Jeopardy, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. The episode, we're going to entitle it, I'll Take School Librarians Who Rock for 500. That's what we'll entitle it. Let's just take a beat here for a second. Our guest isn't just a guardian of books, ladies and gentlemen. She's a tech wizard and an all-around literacy ninja, like I'm not. She was also a contestant on Jeopardy, as I mentioned before, and today we're going to answer some questions in the form of questions, right? So category one, librarian life and career. We'll start with behind the desk for 200. Let's say, this is the path that led me to become a high school librarian.
All right. I studied to be an English teacher, and I did my student teaching at Beverly High School in 1989.
Wow.
It was a very long. If I had stayed, I'd be so retired by now. But so I did my student teaching with Bob Dunn, who was the Sean Fitzpatrick of his day. He was the tech media guy, and he was such a gifted teacher. So I learned a lot from him, and I really loved it. Mm-hmm. But I kind of just never started teaching English. And then it got to the point where it had been so long, and then I got married and had some kids, and then I found out that Salem State had a program where you could be a school librarian. Ooh. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's the best part of teaching. It's the best part of being a librarian. And so I started, I was subbing. I had done childcare for years and years, and then started subbing. And it just so happened that the librarian who I had interviewed for one of my grad classes ended up leaving 90 days into her contract. And so they had a sub in there. Okay.
So that was fortunate that happened, right? Yeah. Everything kind of worked out for a reason. Great. We love that. Still in category one, this is what I love most about working in a school library.
Well, the kids are the number one thing. Teenage drama is what I live for. But also, like, everybody, I don't know how to put this without sounding a little bit like an old lady, but everything is so new to the kids. Yeah. Like, you can really, it makes me happy for the future to see them learning, but to also to see them interacting. And I don't know. It's the kids, man. I've got nothing else.
Still behind the desk for 200. Okay. This is the moment when a student completely surprised me in a good way.
So there's always a kid, but we currently have one who's graduating this year, and he would come in and say things like, do you have any Moliere? Why, yes. Yes, I do. It is translated into the English. It's not in the original Francais. But I love it when a kid comes in with a sort of a niche interest, and I can put a book in their hands that they asked for. So.
Okay, I love it. And last question in this category. This is the most overdue book I've ever had returned. And when I saw it? What did I do when I saw it?
Every year, there's a senior who took something out for their research paper freshman year and just has managed to evade my web of trying to get stuff back. We don't really have due dates. Like, you keep it until you're done with it, but at the end of the year... It's moldy when
it comes back. It's got all kinds of stuff on it.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen things.
I love it. So now let's take a little bit of another beat. Let's tell us a little bit about the story, how you became a contestant on Jeopardy. Now, first of all, we talked a little bit about the host. Who was the first host that was you
I was on
with?
Twice. I was on, when they were trying to find a new host. Alex Trebek had passed away, and they had all different people in it, and so mine was LeVar Burton, which everybody was like,
Reading Rainbow.
Reading Rainbow, that's so great. You're a librarian reading Rainbow. And I'm like, Excuse me, Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yes, indeed.
I'm a bigger nerd than I am a librarian. But he was really great. It was really fun. And then they ended up going with Mayim Bialik and Ken Jennings. And I was invited back for a second chance tournament. And Ken Jennings was the host for those 3 episodes.
So take us a little bit through the process of how you actually got on. You just said, oh, one day I want to be on Jeopardy. How did that work?
Well, one day in 1969, when my mom and I were watching Jeopardy, I was like, I'm going to be on Jeopardy someday.
I'll be on that show.
But they have an online test that you can take, and now you can take it whenever you want. It used to be you had to sign up for it. It was at a certain time. And so I just took the online test when it was invented. And eventually, I took it a couple of times and then got a call to go to New York for an audition. Ooh. And so I went to New York and took another test when I was there and then auditioned. And they said, okay, great, you're in the contestant pool. And then they asked everybody in the room, now, how many of you have been in the contestant pool before? And like 2/3 of the hands went up. They're like, it's very rare you get called in. And sure enough, I did not. But then I took it again, and I got called in during COVID times. And they were like, can you come in? And I had my vaccine scheduled, but I hadn't had it yet. Oh. So I'm like, can you just wait till my shot kicks in? And so they were like, yep. And so I went in, and it was, they had a lot of, it was very much, we were all masked up. We were, we had to sit far away from each other. There were screens up and everything. But then when I went back the second time, when I went back for the tournament, everything was kind of back to normal, and it was much more, I think, the regular Jeopardy experience.
Wow, how great is that? So here you are thinking, I'm going to get on this game show when you're watching it with your mom. Those are the footprints that were left on you back then. And then all of a sudden, now you're a contestant on the show, and you're doing your thing. How great is that?
Yeah, it's pretty great.
We love it. So we're going to level up on the category now. We're going to go to category number 2. We're going to go pop culture and bookworm vibes. How about that?
I've got those.
Now selecting nerdy but noble for 400. Okay. This is the fictional librarian I want to hang out with, preferably somewhere quiet.
No, not quiet. I want to go dancing with Giles from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, okay, all right, nice. And Buffy the Vampire Slayer, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, good show.
Great show.
I really was into that myself. I enjoyed that. I'm not really into that. Well, I kind of was. And then I was like, I like Blade. So that was kind of got me into Buffy the Vampire Slayer. You know what I mean? Next question. This is the book I wanted to be stranded with on a desert island. And no, I don't want to pick Survival of Dummies.
It wouldn't help. I mean, I feel like I should say the Bible because it's got a lot of different stuff in it. Can I pick the complete works of...
You can pick whatever you'd like.
Okay, I would pick the complete works of... Gosh, who's written everything? You know what? And my husband will die when he hears this. Probably Isaac Asimov. Isaac Asimov has written tons and tons of books. So if I could have the complete works of Isaac Asimov, I will definitely die of dysentery before I run out of books.
Be it right there. Huh? Yep. I love it. All right. So having said that, now this is a literacy character that I secretly wish I was or I would root for.
Ooh, that I secretly wish I was.
Even if they're a villain.
Even if
it gets spicier, even still.
Well, I don't want to murder anybody.
No,
but I mean, gosh. I mean, I feel like I could organize the living crap out of the Hunger Games. I could be Plutarch Havensby, put that all together.
I'm digging the Hunger Games.
Yeah, but I don't want to fight in them. I would definitely be the first guy.
Yeah, I don't want to fight.
But I could really organize it. I think I could organize a really murdery Hunger Games. Sorry, teenagers.
It's all right. Listen, the Hunger Games, great movies. Better books though, because they go into such detail, right? Yeah. About the story, which we love, and that's the beautiful thing of it. This is a book I would recommend to students over and over again, like a broken record with good taste.
Okay. It's so old-fashioned and annoying, but there's this book called Betsy and the Great World, which sounds like it's for 4-year-olds, but it's about a young woman who's traveling in Europe by herself in 1914, just as World War I hasn't yet broken out, but all the pieces are starting to come together. And it's just about what it was like to travel the world as a young woman. She wants to be a writer, and it's my favorite series of books from when I was a kid, the Betsy Tacy books.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Betsy. So that's the one, huh?
That's the one.
Lock, stock, and barrel. Boom. I like it. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. That's the one. Let's level up again to category number 3. Moving along. We're behind the stacks now.
Okay.
All right? And let's go with Secrets of the Stacks for 300. This is the most bizarre thing I've ever found in a returned book. Something bizarre. I can see something happening
Well,
there.
yeah, there's been not a ton, and not in returned books, but I find things behind the bookcases,
Yes.
And I have found more than one vape in there. If you're vaping in the library,
Kids,
good
don't
Lord,
vape. What are
cut
you
it out.
doing? Stop doing that. It's not good at all.
I mean, I'm saying kids. It could have been a colleague, but I'm thinking
it could have been.
I'm
could have
thinking
been.
not.
But most likely not. All right. Staying with category 3.
Okay.
This is what I wish more students and teachers understood about what I do.
Oh, wow, that's really good. I think really what I wish is that they were aware, because I'm kind of, I joke around, but I'm sarcastic, and I think I might be wrong that I sometimes come off crabby, but I really like helping people. That's what my job is, to help you find your thing or do your thing or learn your thing. And so, that's what I'm there for. And I used to have a sign that said, please disturb me. But then people kept saying, you're clearly already disturbed. And so
she already looks like she is going to kill us, so we're going to leave her alone. No. Trust me, ladies and gentlemen, Barb Fecteau is a sweetheart. She will help you out and get you anything you need in the library. Believe me, I know this for a fact, working with her. Staying in that same category, all right? This is the piece of tech that has revolutionized libraries, and no, it's not a paperclip.
No, it is not.
What is it?
I would say the online public access catalog, which I told a friend today, I don't know how interesting this is going to be. It's pretty boring to hear library stuff, but the online public access catalog, or OPAC, if you're in the in crowd, it's how you can see what's in the library and what's available, what we own, but also what's on the shelf. The public library has one, and almost all of my library browsing is now digital. I go in, or I read about a book, and then I just go in and see if they've got it. And if they don't, you can reserve it, and it just comes to the library, and you can pick it up.
Okay.
So the OPAC they've been around for a while, but I put the first one in at Beverly High in 2005. But
wow.
I don't know how I do my job without it.
Well, that is a great resource to have. All right. So now, tell us a little bit about some categories that you really love, and some categories that you wish that they wouldn't ask you about if you were on Jeopardy.
Oh, if I was on Jeopardy, anything like literature, musicals, all the old lady categories,
Okay.
History I like. Not sports, I just write it off. Just completely write it off.
Give us something that, a quirky type of fact that we might not know, maybe from a literacy standpoint.
A quirky fact that you might not know.
Like Anne of Green Gables did this or something, you know what I mean?
Oh my gosh, I have a really sad fact about Anne of Green Gables.
Okay.
The woman who wrote it, Lucy Maud Montgomery, wrote all these very successful books for young women, but she had really unhappy marriage. One of her children died young.
Oh my.
And she ended up taking her own life.
Oh no.
I think it was right before World War II, because she'd had such a hard time with World War I. Her journals from the World War I era are just full of every detail, and she wrote a great book, Rilla of Ingleside, about it. But she could see, what was happening with World War II, and she just couldn't live through another war.
Oh
and
my
so
goodness!
She took her own life.
Oh, I'm sorry, I brought up Anne of Green Gables.
Thanks for bringing down the room.
Brought the room down a little bit. Let's bring it back up, ladies and gentlemen, shall we? Let's bring it back up. Let's go to category number 4, wild cards and fun.
All right.
And finally, librarians gone rogue for 500. That would be you. This is my secret librarian superpower, and no cape is required. What is that?
My secret librarian superpower is, oh my gosh. Well, I can tell, by looking, I can pick up books like this, push them together, and and I can know exactly how many books to pick up without, I can eyeball it.
That's a superpower.
Actually, it's not good for anything really, except putting books away, but
I could not do that at all. I can't even do that when I'm shoveling snow. I'm like, oh, is that a lot? Yeah, that's too heavy. I can't do that at all. Wow, that's a great superpower to have, ladies and gentlemen. I like that one a lot. I'll tell you, a couple things come to mind when I think about life in general and you doing your thing and being a librarian, right? Life can only be lived basically or be understood backward, right? But we have to live it forward. If you think about that, right? Yeah. So, and that's the way that things happen in our lives, like footprints are put on us that way, right? And we get what's called life experience, right? So we're there and we're enjoying ourselves. And that's the best part about doing things that you love to do, because in the end, that's the most important aspect, is being able to make yourself happy and being able to make other people happy, which is you do very well as at BHS as a librarian.
Thanks.
That job. No, you're very, very good at it. This is my favorite library pun, and no, I'm not really shelf conscious.
I can't follow that. It would have to be some.
Boom.
I don't have a repository of them. I guess, something along the lines of, I don't know. Vacation is overdue. I can't. I got nothing.
You got nothing. That's all right. That's all right.
Has to come more
that was a terrible
organically.
pun anyway, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry about that one. That was awful. Just to be clear, Barb Fecteau, ladies and gentlemen, has been at Beverly High School for
19 years.
19 years. And you've seen the job change a lot. But it's not to you, it's not a job. It's really an avocation. It's something that you do.
Yeah, I really
right?
love
And
it.
you've seen the resources and things become readily available to the kids and yourself a lot more easily, right? Now, as opposed to back in the day when they had the Encyclopedia Britannicas and all those things that I used to have, right? Look it up. So tell me, what's one resource that you really love about your job, about being a librarian at Beverly High School, that helps not only you but also the kids?
The fact that we're a one-to-one laptop school is really great. But there's also one thing that I really like a lot is that I'm a duty. And I know that sounds terrible, but there's always another teacher.
Right.
They've set it up for so that there's always another adult in the library with me, which is great because that frees me up if I want to go co-teach with another class, or if I need to go to the public library to meet with Katie or the middle school. Like it frees it up a lot, and that's been something. And it's also great for kids because they see teachers in the library, and a lot of subs hang out there when they've got a free period. Like I really like, so I guess I'm going to say like my colleagues are my favorite resource, but really they do. It's just great to have, another adult in the room.
Oh, no question. I think that's the biggest thing is always like, being able to also collaborate with your colleagues as well. I think we talked a little bit about that, and that's one of the biggest things I think that I get out of, the joy I get out of coming to Beverly High School every day, is collaborating with my different colleagues and seeing what they sometimes have to go through. And then it's like, oh my goodness, if I can make your life easier, please let me know. So, that's what we're there to do, is to help each other and make sure that we can be there obviously for the kids and make sure they get what they need as well, which is a good thing. Someone once said to me, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, right? And as you're doing that, you're finding your footing in the world, and you're able to sort of shine your own light, right? And as you're shining your light, you let everybody else unconsciously shine theirs. And you happen to do that on Jeopardy, which was a really good thing. We love that. Final Jeopardy, we're gonna say. Okay. All right, it's the Final Jeopardy this is it. So this is the legacy I hope to leave behind, and both in and beyond the library. What would you say?
The legacy I want to leave behind? Well, honestly, I would hope like a culture of reading. I would hope that, kids who maybe didn't think of themselves as readers now think of themselves as readers. I just read a study that, spoiler if you're going to see the summer reading presentation already,
I am.
but it's a list of different things that you can do. There was a study in England, and it was like, so taking a walk. out in the, taking a walk out in nature lowers your stress and anxiety by like 54%. And then having a cup of coffee or tea lowers it by like, and I'm making up these numbers, I think it's 57%.
That's okay.
And then listening to music, which lowers my stress like 100%.
I love listening to music.
But it was 61%, which I was surprised it was so low.
Yeah.
Reading a book, 67% lowers your stress and anxiety. And one of the quotes said, and I'm paraphrasing, but psychiatrists or psychologists believe that that's because if you just tell yourself you got to relax, it's not going to work. You have to have something else for your focus. And so strong characters, good story, that draws your focus away and allows your body time to, physically calm down.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to tell you right now, reading, I love reading. My daughter, she's a reader. She has a Kindle and she reads all kinds of stuff online and she loves doing that stuff and she reads all kinds of books, which is what I love. You mentioned music, all right? That's another thing that actually calms you down. What's your favorite music artist?
My favorite artist has got to be Aretha Franklin.
Oh,
Queen of Soul.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, Aretha Franklin, beautiful voice. Got a quick story. So my parents, my mom and dad used to hang out. When they first moved to Boston, we lived in Dorchester, and there was this place called the Old Brown Jug. And they had like the Temptations and the Four Tops and the Spinners and James Brown and Aretha Franklin and Diana Ross and the Supremes. They would all go there and they'd hang out and sing. So as I'm a child, and I didn't really get to know any of this, but at one point, Aretha Franklin and Diana Ross came to my house, which I did not know who they were at that time. I was a young kid. I was little. I was probably like 4, maybe 5 years old. I didn't know who these people were. My parents were entertaining, and they happened to hang out at the house. And this is before they became really, really famous. Yeah. And they just used to hang out. But there was a place in Boston, in Dorchester, called the Old Brown Jug. And all those artists used to hang out there and sing and dance. And happens that Aretha and Diana Ross came to my house because my mom knew the manager, I guess, at that time, which is interesting. I was pretty lucky. So as a educator at Beverly High School, of course, I love words and I love wordplay. And we talk a little bit about formal and informal sometimes in my classes. Sometimes I say, think about it. And then I say, well, maybe you should consider it. Not just think about it, right? And then someone will say, I've been pretty lucky. I say, you're right, you're lucky, but you're also fortunate, right? And then someone will say, well, you know what, Mr. Davis, that's pretty cheap. I don't know. Yeah, it is cheap, but it's also inexpensive, right? And then a lot of people say, well, at first, I think I should do this. I'm like, yeah, but initially, I think you should do this, right? And then a lot of times people will say, well, I was in line for a bit. Well, yeah, you were in line for a bit, but maybe you were in line just for a little bit, right? A lot of times people say, well, I was wrong, Mr. Davis. And you're right. Yeah, you were wrong, and so was I sometimes, but maybe you were incorrect. You weren't just wrong, right? A lot of people say, well, I think I want to just call off the whole thing. I don't want this whole thing to happen. I'm going to call it off. You could call it off, or you could cancel it, right? That's another way of calling things off. People say, well, you know what? I dare you to do that. Okay, well, there is a game called Truth or Dare, but I'd rather take the challenge as opposed to taking a dare. I'll take that challenge. A lot of times people say, you know what, I'm going to settle for this. I just settle for this. I'm good. I'm going to settle for that. Well, yeah, you could settle for that, or you could choose to not settle for that. It's kind of up to you. A lot of times people say, you know what, I'm going to pick this up, or I'm going to do this. Yeah, you could pick that up if you want to, or you could collect it if you want to. That's another way of looking at it, right? Sometimes people say, you know what, let's link up. Let's hook up. Let's link up. Oh, yeah, we could do that, or we could connect. That's another way of linking up, right? A lot of times people say, well, let's talk about certain things, Mr. Davis, in the class. Yeah, we can talk about it, but wouldn't you rather have a discussion? Wouldn't you rather do that? Yeah, let's discuss it. And then a lot of times people say, you know what, I want to be able to deal with certain things or deal with that or deal with this. And yes, you can do that, but wouldn't it be better to manage it as opposed to dealing with it? Yeah, I think so. So I love words. Words are really, really key for me. And I love the play on words, and I love different things and different meanings. And we usually have a lot of conversations in the classes with my students. And I'm sure it's you, being a librarian, you have a lot of conversations with kids that have different things that they're kind of thinking about.
Yeah.
What's a conversation, a meaningful conversation you've had with someone who's come to the library who's maybe read a book that really impacted them?
A lot of people, there's a writer called Madeline Miller who wrote Circe, and then she wrote, oh my gosh, I've completely zoned on the other book that she wrote, but it's based on, Greek mythology. Mm-hmm. And kids will occasionally, some of the English teachers in ninth grade will do a little thing where they use some of her, modernized telling of it when they're looking at Odysseus for Circe. Mm-hmm. And they'll come in and they'll just have these really, they'll have picked it up on their own because of had that breadcrumb dropped by their English teacher, which is really nice. And I always like it when I hear that a kid read something, in class that then inspired them to do something else, because they look at it a lot. They look at it more seriously. They're willing to have an in-depth conversation. It's not just about, who ended up with who, or was it enemies to lovers. It's like some real depth to it.
Yeah, no question about it. I think that's the beautiful part about being in education. You can see that sometimes when you drop a breadcrumb, the kid will pick it up, and it'll lead, like you said, to something else even greater. And that's the beauty of footprints. That's what we do every day as educators, and you being in the librarian for the librarian business, ladies and gentlemen, for 19 years. I mean, that's amazing what you do. And we couldn't thank you enough for doing it. It's really awesome. Okay, a couple more questions.
Okay.
All right, so you're hanging out and you're at a beautiful, beautiful restaurant. Oh, nice. And you can have dinner with any celebrity, dead or alive. Ooh. Who would it be and why?
Any celebrity, just one?
Mm-hmm. It could be several if you want.
Okay, because I'd like to have I'd like to have Maud Hart Lovelace. This is so nerdy, but Maud Hart Lovelace, who wrote the Betsy Tacy books. Okay. Laura Ingalls Wilder, who wrote the Little House on the Prairie books, and then Lucy Maud Montgomery. Maybe I could cheer her up.
For sure.
The Anne of Green Gables books, and just talk to them, because those 3 books are all based on their lives, but not Lucy Maud Montgomery hardly at all, but definitely some of her life stories is in there. But Laura Ingalls Wilder and Maud Hart Lovelace wrote based on what their lived experience was, and so I want to find out all right, what's the BS and what's true in there? Tell me, spill, ladies.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. I thought about this question a lot, and I asked this question a lot to my guests on the show. And for me, I don't know. I had 2 people in mind. First one was Elvis Presley. I would have liked to have dinner with Elvis Presley. Yeah. And what's funny about that is I watch old Elvis Presley movies every now and then, right? And he was so good looking back in the day, right? He couldn't really act, so he would sing his dialogue, right? So I would ask Elvis Presley seriously, why? How did you decide that you were going to take this genre of music and make it as popular as it was?
Yeah.
How did that come about? Where did it begin? Did it begin at home? Were you interested in that? Did your parents listen to this type of music? I'm just kind of interested in what he would say about that. That would be kind of cool to have dinner or lunch with Elvis. You got to win this race, that guy. You know what I mean? It'd be cool. And the final question for you.
Okay.
All right. You're on vacation.
Oh, good.
You all right? You're chilling. You're having a good time. What would be the favorite book that you would bring with you on vacation to hang out? I just got a Kindle like your daughter, so I just fill it up with 60 books in case there's
case there's something.
Just fill it up.
Yeah.
See, that's it, huh?
There's one book that I read that I loved I was in middle school. It's called Beauty. It's by Robin McKinley, and it's a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. And it's like my comfort book, you know? I can just read it, and it even though I know everything that happens, and I've read it 40 times, that's my feel-good book. But Stephen King's The Stand is also a great, because it's a feel-bad book.
Okay.
But then you close it, and you're like, oh look, I'm on the beach. Hooray.
It's kind of like me with like Rocky. I've watched it 1,000,006 times, but you know the ending, and but you got to watch it anyway, right? Yeah, that's one of those deals. You have to watch it.
It's like Shawshank when it comes on.
No question. No question. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of the show. Unfortunately, it's time for us to go. That's a wrap on our Jeopardy-themed deep dive with Barb Fecteau. Thank you, Barb, for being here. We learned a bunch of stuff. We laughed a little bit, and hopefully, we didn't get fined for any late returns, of any books. So, ladies and gentlemen, please tune in next time, and I have another guest coming on next week. You'll love the guests I have coming on. I'm going to keep that under wraps. It'll be fun. And please don't forget to follow us on all the podcasting streams that we have. Spotify, Podbean, Overcast, Pod Addict, easy for me to say, and Castbox. Don't forget to also check us out on Channel 22. And again, I say this to you, ladies and gentlemen, who left a footprint on you? Thank you. I'll see you next time. Have a good day. Bye-bye.